few of the features in Beta 8 just released. This is not an instructional video, but just a very quick demonstration. The first major change is a new timeline with a lot of new colors, kind of a lot going on in it, but basically the beginning and ending dates, for example, you can see projection began here and projection ended here, are now included in with the events that you add for the family timeline. It also highlights dates that show that are the same, so that it just kind of helps you orient yourself. Now, if I expand the timeline, you can also see that it draws out. There's a little bit of a cluster here. There's a lot going on, but here's an example. Here's a fusion ended and fusion began. So here's the fusion on the diagram, and you can see that it draws a green bracket for it, so that you can really quickly get a sense of the time span, which is roughly here, for that symbol in relationship to the other events going on in the family. And so you get a timeline that's got a lot more going on in it, but it gives you a really quick holistic view of the overall emotional process along with the facts of the family timeline. Another big feature is the ability to add in arbitrary variables to the timeline, so that you can track whatever variables you want for whatever research framework you're using. If I click here on the Hofstad template, it pulls up symptom, anxiety, and relationship. And then if I jump back over to the timeline, you can see that it added those variables here. The functioning variable is a default. It's always there. And it makes the functioning arrows appear. Now, let's see. If I jump back and set the PAPRO model, then it reorganizes all of the variables into PAPRO's 5 dimensions, and then adds those into the spreadsheet. So you can track a family history from a clinical interview, for example, and then track the changes in certain variables through time in relationship to the events in the timeline. Another big feature is subviews or layers. I'm going to jump back into my diagram. It's kind of a big diagram, and this is actually only a subview of it. So I'm going to clear everything out. All right, so here's my full diagram. Now I have two subviews set up into layers. I have one for my dad's family, not all of the extended genealogy project, but some of the more recent relatives, and I have another one for my mom's. So if I go up here, I've got them preset into Stinson's, and then you can see that the diagram reorganizes into a more useful view. Here I am, and here's my mother, my stepmother, but their families are not shown. You can set these up however you want. You can rearrange the people however you want for each view. So I have another one for my mom's. I named it with her maiden name because I keep forgetting she got married about 20 years ago. And here I am again, and here's my mom. Now and the rest of her family and her siblings. Now it's important to note that this is all the same diagram, just subviews within the diagram, just to kind of simplify and give you a narrow scope for a moment. And then you can switch back to the other view quickly. So the data is the same. For example, in my personal history is the same regardless. So then if I jump into the main diagram, you can see that the overall timeline is actually really long and unmanageable for all of the people in the genealogy project that I've got going on. But if I just, for a differentiation purposes, if I just want to narrow focus in on a narrower piece, I can jump back to that subview for my dad's family, and you only get the events that pertain to those people. Again, if I jump back to the one for my mom's family, you only get the events for those people. So it's a much smaller and more manageable list. And then again, if I jump out, you can see like here's a conflict between her and my dad, or her and her dad, that's drawn into the timeline. Let's see, what was what was the other one? Right. There's I changed the twins so that they're drawn as I understand Bowen drew them, with the upside down square bracket here. It also, if you want to add new ones in, you can just do this, and you can set up a multiple birth however you want. There's also a user manual that's in progress. It's not even near completed, but it does have some nice animated examples in here, and it does give some basic orientation to the symbols and how to add in different structures. So that's going to be updated. Oh, right. So a major feature is also, let's see, I have an example for this set up, I think, in my family. The visual timeline got a major upgrade. I'm going to go back out to the main view for my family, so all the data is in here. And then if I jump down here to visual, here's my visual timeline. Click more. Now I have some tags set up, and I have a whole bunch of events added to each tag. So all of my dad's events are added to the tag with his name, Patrick Stinson events. So all of my events are there, and you can see that it's starting to stack the timelines here. So you can see that I have most of his events are from when he graduated high school until he met his stepmother, my stepmother, and then I have some of my events are recorded up here. And then I've got my brothers. And so you can compare different timelines. Now you can add whatever category you want. So you don't have to track by person. You can track, let's see, I added in another one for my entire family from 1998 on. And I only have certain gaps and certain chunks of time filled in for these timelines. But what this allows you to do is compare one slice of the family or one view of the family with another view. So if I want to compare what's going on in my timeline here in relationship to what's going on in the broader family in general, then I can do that pretty quickly like this. There's another checkbox here that Mike Sullivan gave me the idea for, and this is kind of I don't really know how anyone's going to use this, but basically what it does is it takes the timelines and then puts them on the same time span. So for example, here I can compare my dad's. So I've got 18 years into this time span, and my 18th year, I can see that I graduated high school about the same time that my dad and my brother did, and then I can get a little bit of a view of how our launching process went and compare things that way. You can use this however you want. The point is that Sullivanian time just takes all the events for each category and then lines them up with from 0 years on out so that you can compare the slices however you want. Right. Those are the major features. So I hope that that's interesting and exciting, and I look forward to hearing your feedback. And I'll be putting out some videos with more detailed information on how to actually use these features, because some of them can be a little complex. But oh, one last one. Actually, I can't leave this one out. One last feature. I'm going to go back to the timeline test. If you want to track multiple triangles through time, then you're going to end up having symbols that are overlapping. And so it's just a real simple feature here that here's a projection symbol and a fusion symbol. Now these are represented of two edges on two different diagrams, say, or two different triangles. And you can have as many as you want there, and and when you hover over it with your mouse, then it'll fan them out so you can select which one you want. And if you double click, you can get the the data here, so you can add some notes in for that projection symbol, add a start, change the start date, etc. So if I just keep adding symbols between these people, it's just going to keep stacking them up, and I can have as many as I want there, and then when I hover, it spans them all out like that, so that you can edit them a little bit easier. So that way you can track any number of triangles that you want with dyadic symbols like that. So anyway, that's it. Hope you enjoy using the app, and let me know how it goes. Bye-bye.